Hey there everyone, welcome back to the Runway HQ Startup Grassroots Show. Brandon Burns here, your host, and back with me is our very special guest on this week's episode, Robbie Lecchino. How are you?
Great, mate.
It's good to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Now, for those listening and watching, you're probably going to recognise this face, and more importantly, you're probably going to recognise his amazing business in Geelong, King of the Castle Cafe. How long have you had the business?
So we'll be going up 6 years.
6 years?
Next week, actually, yeah.
Yeah, and across multiple locations?
Just two. The two. So 6 years from the original location.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you guys are probably familiar with Robbie's amazing work on Instagram and socials following the business. It's a great place to eat and drink, but I'm sure what he's going to tell you is that it's so much more than that. And so what I thought I'd do is throw to Robbie just to tell us all a bit about how he got started, what inspired him to venture into this space, and the journey today.
So it's always been hospitality for me.
Okay, cool.
I definitely tried different areas, like different work. What was I doing? I was doing construction. I was doing all sorts of things, but this is what I always went back to. Mm-hmm. Definitely what I love, so I just continued to follow that, and the dream was to always open a cafe.
Yeah.
So I pursued that dream in Melbourne for about 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
Nothing sort of came to fruition, and then I stumbled across this space in Geelong.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, because what stands out to me, because I've witnessed your business journey for a while now, is that it almost feels like you were one of the first, or at least one of the most recognised businesses or cafes that's been able to really leverage social media and use it to your advantage for your business. What would you say to that? Was that an accurate?
Yeah, and it was none of it was sort of premeditated, or I sort of came into it quite blind. I wasn't really aware of Instagram.
Yeah.
It was a friend of mine that just sort of said, there's a great platform called Instagram, you should use it. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how to use it strategically. I just used it the way that I did, and I think that that's sort of come across, and that's what people have, I don't know, that's what they've enjoyed. It's raw, it's authentic, and that's basically what's worked.
And it's all you?
Yeah, it's all me. So
you're a big believer in administrating and doing it yourself?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
So you're the gatekeeper of your brand.
Yeah, people always, well, they not so much now, but I used to come in and ask like who drives it, because they wanted them to drive their own social media, but it's always been me. And yeah, I think that's just easier. Like you can gauge what the day's about, what products moving fast. You can like make the excitement of all that sort of stuff yourself. But if it's someone sitting in an office somewhere, you can feel that it's not authentic.
Yep.
I believe you can anyway. So.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so you operated the cafe in Melbourne there for 3 to 4 years.
Yep.
And then you chose to set up in Geelong, and obviously been going now for 6 years across those 2 locations. What years were the toughest?
In King?
Well, just overall, like we're 1 to 0 to 6 here. Everyone would probably think 0 to 12 months.
Yeah.
But I'm interested.
Yeah, maybe not. I think people have asked me that in the past as well. Mm-hmm. Like you got to remember too, King started off as a hole in the wall. For 3 months, it had already outgrown its hole in the wall. Mm-hmm. So then we had to expand and find another location. So that 12 months was really, the first 12 months was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Maybe the third year, when maybe all the excitement and everything had sort of calmed down, and we started to leverage out a little bit. And I'd say about the 3rd year.
How did you regenerate that?
It's always just the excitement factor for me. So like even as King, we opened up the new King. It was opened up in 3 sections, so then I could generate the excitement. I generated the excitement for the first section. I did like a big countdown for the kitchen opening, and it just gets the gets the public and the audience really excited and quite involved. So
that's amazing. Yeah. What is your go-to coffee order?
Always a long black.
Long black?
Always. Yeah.
No milk?
No. And the whole milk thing's starting to, like today we've had to introduce another two milks to the table as well. So there's like such a variety these days now. So it's crazy.
So a question I often give guests when they come on, and this really helps with our audience, which is early stage startups. Some of them are still in the idea stage, and they've got this idea and they're looking to really seize the day and start their entrepreneurial journey. And I asked guests, what are those key pieces of advice that you would give someone starting out, especially coming from the point of view of how they could learn from your experience and maybe avoid a thing or two, or have an insight or a tip or trick that could really accelerate them further.
Yeah, right. I guess like for me, my journey in Melbourne was constantly looking for that venue that I wanted to open.
Yep.
And I was told then in that 3 years by some peers of mine, like, it needs to be this way, it needs to be that way. Everything was sort of set out the way that they'd said.
Yep.
But it was that moment that I broke away from that and said, you know what? Like, I don't need that $40,000 or $50,000 to start something up. Like, I set up King for $5,000.
Really?
And like, that's something that I would say to people is like, you can do it. You can start off small and expand, and you just got to keep that vision, that end result where I wanted King to be a big, fully functioned cafe.
Yep.
I was eventually going to get there, but I didn't have to start there.
Yep, gotcha.
So yeah, just like keep your dream, like keep dreaming. Definitely don't you just jump out there and give it a go. Like, I never really wanted to open a hole in the wall. That was never part of the plan.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw it as a stepping stone, and it worked.
Yep. That'll resonate well with our audience, actually, because it sounds like you went to market with a lean version of what you may progress to.
Yeah.
You tested, you obviously got the demand, the audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you're able to sort of iterate and expand further with confidence.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so...
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, even with the whole expansion, like, the whole audience has come with me for the ride.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's why the social media is so strong. Like, people want to see what we're doing next and how their place is going. Like,
So you've almost built a bit of a tribe.
100%.
So it is about the food and the coffee, but so much more by the sounds of it.
Yeah, the community there is amazing.
Yeah.
So good.
Would you say that with social media in your business, you mentioned Instagram and you mentioned how you stumbled across it, and it sounds like it is quite inherent of the hospitality and the food industry, but do you really zero down a niche on that platform at the expense of maybe focusing on others, or do you spread across Facebook, other platforms, or is it all Instagram?
Without sounding arrogant, like, I've not required any other advertising. It's all Instagram. I'd say it's about 80% Instagram, 20% Facebook.
Gotcha.
Instagram's great. Like, if I've got the opportunity on a weekend to ask people, I can always pick when people aren't there from Geelong. Mm-hmm. Especially groups. We're getting a lot of groups in, and they're all just tourists. They're people coming in from interstate, or they're coming down to the coast or wherever they're going, and they're all stopping in at King because they follow us on Instagram.
Excellent.
It's such a great tool, and people order their food off Instagram. It's brilliant. Yeah.
Do you use any form of paid advertising on Instagram, or have you? No,
not even the sponsored one. No.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. Our last guest said they really don't like the paid element because they don't like the feeling of being sold to.
Yeah, and it's sort of in your face a lot as well.
Okay.
Yeah, like, you might see the post and you think, I've seen that post 2 or 3 times, but then you realise it's a sponsored ad.
Yep.
Yeah, at the moment we haven't needed it, so...
Cool. So taking social media out of the equation for a moment and hypothetically imagining that if Instagram or social media was to disappear, what are the core elements of your business that would help you stand up in that type of environment if it was to happen? What is it that you impart in your team or your business that keeps it rock solid and able to weather any storm?
I think what we do by delivering that, like we just said earlier, that community feel, we're pretty fortunate, like, to have a driveway entering. So, like, for us, something like, here comes Brendan, get his coffee on, and we have that element where we're already looking after our guests before they've walked in, and they love that. Yep. So I think that comes down to that sort of service, definitely. Mm-hmm. And the product. Like, I love reinventing dishes. So yeah. So
tell me, what's happening in the hospitality industry now, or what's some disruption that maybe you think's coming or that you'd like to see that could revolutionise or help improve the industry?
Well, look, in regards to myself, I know that the past few months I've taken a step back from the garnishes and the flowers and everything on dishes.
Yep.
I know that people eat with their eyes, so now it's like flipping that over now and just using some really good products, good natural colours, making things pop, so everything's visual again. But that's the sort of way that I'm going, back to old school sort of food, but with pops of colour and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so you've got the second location for King.
Yes.
So what gave you the confidence to go, yep, I'm going to open the second location, and what made you choose that location, and so how did you scout that this is going to be a good opportunity, it's going to work, there's a market?
Well, this is the part that I sort of say to people, it was actually the universe that pushed me to go there. I had no choice. So not many people know that, but my landlord at the time of the hole in the wall saw how big we were getting and wanted to be part of it, and that was never part of...
Yep.
Yeah. So I was sort of forced out of that space. So I looked, 2 or 3 doors down and found this old abandoned garage. And I knew that it was going to be successful because the demand was already there for it. People had only been coming into King for 3 or 4 months, and we were only offered coffee and cakes, but they were already asking for, when's the kitchen going to happen?
Yep.
When are you going to expand? When are you going to... So I think people were telling me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. So I guess what you're talking about there is listening to your audience, always seeking feedback,
Always.
using that data to inform your next decision.
Yeah, definitely.
So they're driving...
And that's actually been the key the whole way through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great. So what would you say, and this could be personal, maybe not just business, but it's been like, your biggest achievement on the journey to date, you'd say? I know a couple of years ago there was a Geelong Business Excellence.
That's actually the one.
Yeah, tell me more about that. Yeah.
I'm not too sure. Like we've been winning the Golden Plate Awards each year, and that's a bit of a big deal. But just something about that Geelong Business Award being recognised. Hey, I'm a small guy. You guys agree that it's a great business.
Yep.
And being, I guess, not a role model, but just being an inspiration for other people that want to just venture out and do what I did. I know a couple of businesses in Geelong that have actually come up and tapped me on the shoulder and said, we've done it your way, where we've started small, and now there's one in town, and there's a little bar in the city as well, and they're 2 businesses that sort of came off that sort of,
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so it's great.
Yeah. So who continues to inspire you now, or maybe who inspired you in the beginning to get on this journey?
Well, I don't know. I actually think that the ladies that I'm sitting next to on this panel, they've always been people that I've looked up to.
Okay, so I'll just mention there, Robbie's actually coming in and speaking as a special guest for us at our Clever and Creative event, hosted by Kylie Oliver.
Kylie Oliver, yeah.
We've got Gail from Upstate Yoga.
Yeah.
Rebecca, Blondie Salon. We've also got... Sandy from Kids Fashion Blogger. And yourself.
Yep.
So talk to me about the relationship there and the inspiration.
Yeah, I think that's just been like being active on social media and just seeing there's just such an authenticity that comes out with these people, with these ladies, and like Renee and Wright as well. Like, it's just, I think that's what I am drawn to, is just being authentic.
So tell me, right, you mentioned Kylie Oliver, Sandy from Kids Fashion Blogger, Gail from Upstate Yoga, Fine Self, Rebecca from Blondie Salon. I think you mentioned Renee Enright as well.
Yeah.
Talk to me about their influence and inspiration for you.
It's just like they're obviously in the limelight in Geelong. They're very authentic, so their posts and that are quite real. They're raw. It's just straight down to the point, and they celebrate their achievements, which is great. Well, I just thought things like that are sometimes frowned upon, but. Yeah, I enjoy watching these ladies active on social media. It's sort of been the sort of steps that I've taken as well. Yeah. Just trying to keep it real.
Yeah, unbelievable. Okay, so how long should a startup listening, starting on their journey, how long should they give themselves to really make sure that they've done everything they can to test and see if their business can work and be a winner? Because 18 months, first 12, 18 months is the danger zone for small business, as we know. And there's competing challenges. People have part-time jobs. They might be still managing while starting their business, or some people might go all in. How long should they give themselves, and what advice would you give them around that decision when they jump straight in?
Look, I had a lot of people telling me that I was crazy leaving a job where I was getting, $1,200, whatever it was a week, to something that I was going to be gambling with. I think the first 12 months is pretty important. By 12 months, you should have a pretty good, you'd have good feedback from your customers. You'd know you'd be evolving a little bit. But definitely, and then around the 3-year mark, like I said earlier, for us, we did come to a lull, but we didn't mean that we were quiet in any means. It's just, compared to the first year.
Yeah, totally. And are there any signs you can look for as an entrepreneur when you're starting out that can fill you with confidence and tell you that, yep, I'm on the right track here? So obviously, an obvious one is financial. But what else can you look for that's a sign to say, yep, you're on the right track here?
I think it depends if you want to go into your Google reviews, feedback from guests and stuff, the way that the community has sort of embraced you, or if they haven't embraced you, and just things like that too. I think it's not all about money. Obviously that's a big part of it, but definitely the good feedback, I think.
So I've got one last question that wasn't on the list. I apologise.
Here we go.
If you had to have dinner with one person or coffee with one person in the world, and they could be living or even not anymore, who would that be?
I had one person, but when you said not living, so now I'd have to say not living. It would be my nonna, I think.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I feel like she sort of has been a big part of all this as well.
Yeah, really?
So 100%. So I'd definitely say that. I'd say, my nonna.
Was she born in Italy?
Born in Italy, but I'd get her to cook for me as well. So
really?
Yeah,
wow.
But one last time.
Unreal. And what about someone living?
Mate, living, I'll be completely honest, and I'd say Kylie Minogue.
Really?
Yeah, I'd love to. And that she's it's sort of an example. It's she really got beaten around a bit in the 80s by us, the public.
Yep.
And look at her, she's still going.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel a little bit like that as well. All my peers in Melbourne said, you're never ever going to get into the age epicure, and I did. You're never going to do this because you're in Geelong. You're never going to get that. And I think I've ticked off all the boxes. So, me and Kylie.
That's it. We'll try and get her on the show next. And you can be there as well.
Amazing.
Well, Robbie's going to be our special guest on the 18th September. Clever and creative event. Book your tickets. We'll share the link after this episode. And Robbie, thank you so much again, mate.
Thank you, mate.
Well done on your journey.
Cheers.
Yeah. See you guys.